Thank you so much, Pranavi, for making the time for this conversation. I'm just so excited that I get to connect with my very first Miss CEO ambassador. You were a sophomore in high school and you approached me after a Stanford Splash and you said, I'm really excited about what you're doing with Miss CEO and I'd like to bring it to the young women in my community. So can you catch us all up in terms of what you're doing now and how's it all going for you?
Absolutely. So, like you mentioned, I'm a junior at Stanford. I'm studying public policy from Gilroy, California. And yeah, so I met you, Nita, 5 or 6 years ago and was super just excited about Miss CEO, wanted to get involved. And even now, I'm like really proud to say that I was the first ambassador. Like, it's so cool to see how you've grown the program as well. And to see how all my peers and I basically got to be exposed to all the content that we were in high school. That was amazing. So yeah, I'm from Gilroy. I'm spending the quarter at Stanford in Washington, though, taking remote classes. And I wrote an article with a friend of mine about voting. So I'm here to talk a little bit about vote by mail and mostly about how to make your vote count in this very strange election year. So I'm going to talk about options for voting this year. You can either vote in person or you can vote by mail. Part of the reason that I wrote the articles was to make sure that everyone knew about the abundance of evidence showing that vote by mail is effective. It's a really reliable way to vote. Depending on where you live, your state might automatically send you a vote by mail ballot, or you might have to request one. So in my article, there's a super useful link that basically outlines which states you have to request for, which states you'll automatically get a ballot for. Most important thing is register, and then also make sure you know the individual information for your state and county. 550,000 votes were discounted in the primary elections earlier this year, and those were vote by mail ballots. It's really scary to think about the idea that you might do everything right and your vote could still be discounted this year. The biggest one was signature verification. So those votes didn't count because the people who turned them in either forgot to sign the back of their ballot or the signature didn't match up with the signature that the county office had on file, or the ballot was mailed too late. So what a lot of voters don't know is that the election office will check your signature with the one that they have on file, which is most commonly the signature that you use when you were getting your driver's license or your state ID.
What are some ways that we can increase voter turnout, particularly in minorities and underrepresented groups?
There are some things that young people can do. First thing is getting super educated on all of the intricacies of what you have to do in your state and county to vote and sharing it with as many people as you can. Another thing is phone banking. Basically, you have to find an organization that trains you to phone bank, and you will call people in different districts and make sure that everyone knows what they need to know to vote. And then another thing that you can do is to become a poll worker. So a poll worker is someone who works at the polls on election day, just making sure that everything goes smoothly and keeping track of all the votes. You don't even have to be 18, at least in California.
Anything else that we should incorporate or emphasize or know about?
I think one last point is to vote early. So regardless of whether you're planning to vote at the polls this year or to vote by mail, just make sure to send your vote in as soon as you can. So the recommended timeline is 2 weeks before election day, and if you're mailing your vote, obviously, and to send it in with stamps.
Absolutely. Pranavi, I'm so excited to see what you're pursuing and how you're channeling your many talents and strengths into such an important area. And I think that this is so exciting. So I'm really proud of you for just being a champion of such an important cause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making the time and making this all possible.